Modern civilization depends on a continuous, high-volume flow of maritime trade. Every day, thousands of cargo ships move the energy and materials required to prevent entire national economies from stalling. Much of this traffic is still funneled through artificial choke points, like the Panama Canal. These are structures engineered over a century ago, now struggling to accommodate the scale of modern global shipping. The most severe vulnerabilities are the natural geographic straits. These narrow maritime corridors force thousands of massive vessels into tightly packed, highly exposed lanes. For global superpowers, these geographic threats are now a matter of national survival. They have realized that the current map is too fragile to support their economic futures. If a conflict allowed a regional power like Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz, the impact would be immediate. Global oil and gas prices would likely spike by 20%, triggering a worldwide energy crisis. A single oil tanker navigating open water is a slow-moving, isolated target. Carrying millions of barrels of crude through contested zones leaves these vessels completely exposed to drone or missile strikes. This vulnerability creates what Beijing calls the Malacca Dilemma. Because 80% of China's oil imports must pass through this single strait, a U.S. Navy blockade could effectively paralyze the Chinese economy. No longer willing to trust the existing map, the world's most powerful nations are now racing to engineer entirely new trade routes from scratch. One proposed solution is to simply dig new canals to bypass the old ones. A viral theory suggests cutting a path through the Musandam Peninsula in the UAE to create a direct exit from the Persian Gulf. The local geography makes this engineering impossible. The peninsula is a wall of rock reaching heights of 2,000 meters, and the lack of a natural water supply would make operating the necessary lock systems prohibitively expensive. In Southeast Asia, planners have spent 3 centuries dreaming of the Kra Canal. This project would cut through the narrowest part of Thailand to create a direct link between the Indian Ocean and South China Sea. While the terrain is manageable, the politics are not. A Kra Canal would siphon away 30% of Singapore's trade and remove a key strategic choke point currently monitored by the United States. Thailand is now pursuing a land bridge as a compromise. Instead of a canal, cargo is offloaded on one coast, moved 100 kilometers by rail, and reloaded on the other side. This avoids the Strait of Malacca, but introduces the high costs of double handling millions of tons of freight. These direct bypass projects frequently fail. They are either defeated by the physical reality of the terrain or the complex political interests of neighboring powers. Rather than relying on a single canal, China has spent the last decade building the Belt and Road Initiative. This is a vast infrastructure web integrating roads, railways, and ports across 149 countries. Pakistan's Gwadar port is a key example. By developing deep water hubs, China secures logistics centers directly adjacent to critical maritime choke points. This network now extends into Europe. At the port of Piraeus in Greece, Chinese investment has established a major gateway, giving Beijing significant influence over the continent's primary trade flows. To counter this expansion, the West launched IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. This rival network aims to connect India to the European market via a new multimodal path through the Middle East. IMEC faces its own severe obstacle. The corridor requires a seamless rail link through Saudi Arabia and Israel, a diplomatic path that is currently frozen due to the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Both superpowers have discovered that even the most expensive networks remain vulnerable to the same regional instability they were designed to bypass. While megaprojects stall in the Middle East, a more practical corridor is emerging in the Americas. Mexico is developing the Interoceanic Corridor, a rail network that functions as a high-speed dry canal between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. At the port of Coatzacoalcos, cargo is already moving across Mexico in just 9 hours. This rail corridor undercuts Panama Canal costs by 15%. To the far north, a different kind of route is emerging. Rising temperatures are clearing a path through the Arctic, requiring zero human excavation. As the Arctic ice sheet melts, it is opening the Northern Sea Route. This path connects the Pacific to the Atlantic through formerly frozen waters. This route cuts the transit time from China to Europe in half. It also provides a strategic lane for Russia and China that sits entirely outside the reach of the traditional maritime powers. The map of global trade is a living battlefield. Its borders are defined not just by international law, but by the physical limits of the Earth and the shifting demands of the economy. The failures of the Masandam and Kra canals show that massive budgets cannot simply override mountain ranges or centuries of regional political tension. Naval power and massive budgets are no longer enough to guarantee trade security. Future dominance belongs to those who successfully integrate their networks with these emerging corridors, the routes being cleared by the Earth's changing climate and the high-speed logistics corridors already moving cargo today.